let's talk about one of the great mysteries of kayaking, getting in and getting out. You know, my friends that run kayak rental operations tell me that 95% of the people who ever tip over in a kayak do so within 5 feet of the dock. Why is that? Well, think about what makes kayaking so much fun. You sit in the bottom of the kayak. Your center of balance is as absolutely low as it can possibly get. And that allows the guys who design the kayak to make it narrower, which makes it nice and fast and fun to paddle. The problem is, when you raise your center of balance to get in and out of your kayak, this nice friendly buddy of yours out in the water turns into kind of this evil monster that easily wants to tip over. I'm going to show you a bulletproof method for getting in and out of your kayak using your paddle as a kickstand. So let's start at the dock. You're going to take your paddle and put the shaft behind the cockpit. Some kayaks, like my Swift Kawasa here, even have a channel cut behind the cockpit to hold the shaft. This is important. You're going to place your hand so that the thumb curls around the cockpit right in the middle. Your palm is on top of the shaft and your fingers are on the deck of the kayak. Make sure you don't roll your fingers under, because when you put weight on that shaft, it is going to pinch your fingers something fierce. So you want your hand just like this. Once your hand is in position, make sure you're sitting in front of the kayak paddle. Your butt is right next to the seat where you're going. Your thumb is curled over the cockpit ring. Your palm is on top of the paddle shaft. Your fingers are out over the deck. And that blade on that side is brought in nice and tight against the kayak, so you have lots of kayak paddle or kickstand over the dock. Then you're going to take your other hand, same way, palm on top of the kayak paddle, fingers out so they don't get pinched. You're going to put a lot of weight on that hand. It's going to be right up here against your butt. Now you're going to take both feet, put them in the kayak, and press up on your hands. Lots of weight on the hand on the dock, and then the hand on the other side is making sure it's holding that kayak paddle so that your kayak doesn't move around on you while you're doing this. Straighten both legs out, slide your butt onto the seat, and you're in, nice and safe. Now here's a trick. Before you go anywhere, this is the time while you are connected to that dock to get your feet in position, wiggle your hips around so your butt is centered and comfortable, and get your paddle ready to go before you leave the safety of this dock. Hey, so we got into the kayak just fine. How do we get out? It's the same thing in reverse. You're going to take your kayak paddle, put it behind you. That shaft is going to go right up against the back of the cockpit. You're going to pull the blade over so it's up against the side of the kayak. And very important, positioning your hands. This is going to feel a little awkward at first. Thumb forward, palm on top of the shaft, and fingers back on top of the deck. Reach around and get it and snug it up so that kayak shaft is right up against the back of the cockpit ring. Now you're going to take your other hand, same thing. Thumb forward, fingers back. Get it away from you a little bit, because your butt has to fit in between that hand and the edge of the dock. Now, you're going to take this foot, put it in front of you. It's going to help you lift up. So, push up with a foot, put some pressure on your hands, lots of pressure on the dock side hand. Slide your butt over and set it on the dock. Get your feet out. And congratulations, you got out nice and dry. Now let's say you don't have a dock. You're at the shore and you're trying to get in and out. Well, you can use exactly the same technique. You can use your paddle as a kickstand. Let me show you. First, paddle behind you, just like on the dock. Your blade up against the side of the kayak, and you remember how you take your hand. Thumb forward, palm on top of the shaft, fingers back in the deck, and you're going to grab the back of the cockpit ring with your thumb so your paddle shaft is connected well to your kayak. Then, you're going to hunch down a little bit, take your other hand onto your kickstand or your paddle, and put it right on that shaft. Now it's going to seem like that's a lot of weight on your kayak shaft. Don't worry. Kayak paddles are made just for this. Now, you're going to take a foot, sans weeds, and put it in the kayak. You can take your other foot, put it in the kayak, straighten your feet out, and drop your butt in. Voila. So I'm coming in to the beach. There's no dock. How do I get out? You guessed it. Just like at the dock, it's the reverse of how I got in. I'm going to get in close enough where it's shallow enough that I can reach the bottom without leaning over. I'm going to put my kayak paddle behind me. Sink the blade down so it catches the ground. Then I'm going to make sure that that other blade is up against the side of the kayak so I have a long extension on my kickstand out to shore. Very important, I'm going to reach this hand behind me, the outside away from shore hand, thumb forward, palm on the shaft, and hands on the deck. And I'm going to grab that paddle shaft. I'm going to get my thumb down into the cockpit and grip. And I'm going to have my palm on top of the paddle shaft. Other hand goes on the paddle shaft. Thumb forward, fingers back. And now I take my foot up, foot right in the center of the kayak. So when I put pressure on it, I'm not tipping it one way or the other. And I'm between the pressure on my foot and on my hands, I'm going to lift my butt up. Then I'm going to take a foot out, put it on the ground, almost there, other foot out, scooch my feet back a little bit so I'm upright. Done. I'm out, I'm dry, no problems. My name's Terry Kent. Thanks for listening about the sport I love. I'll see you out in the water with your shirt dry because you didn't fall in getting into your kayak.